Amazon's deep government partnerships will ruin your life. Now, this is 15 minutes long, so we'll probably bail out halfway through. But just, you see what I mean? It's got this fucker. This video has 84,000 views. It's been up for a day. It is 1 million subscribers. Obviously, the Blaze Network has its, I guarantee there's some bought views there. It's a structure. The Blaze and Daily Wires, no way they're not buying shit off of like Indian watch farms where they got those rows of phones and somebody just walks along and taps on the video and that's what you're paying for. It's just fucking stupid. But I would, I need to dig into their vidIQ stuff. But still, that's even, and also the break between this, 1 million subscribers, but only 84,000 views. I just feel like if this was a real number, you'd have closer to at least half of it on the regular, right? Because, look at this Forbes one. Forbes Breaking News, which is, I don't even know if this is associated with Forbes for real. It's got a check mark, but that doesn't mean it is. And it's all right-wing shit, by the way. The Forbes Breaking News is the weirdest. It has almost nothing to do with the rest of Forbes, whatever, unless it's Steve Forbes just runs this thing. Oh, look, it's Richard Wolff. Anyways, 84,000 views. This Forbes, 269,000 views on this guy. Look at that right there. Now it's been up for 7 days, so there's more time, but still. Okay, here we go. Now this is, I'm sure that it's going to ruin my life by making me lazy. They're going to coat every cardboard box with fluoride. Probably that. Yeah.
Of the Riveter, she's really, I feel stupid sitting in the same room with her. She's a graduate.
Yeah, but that's in all fairness. How do you not feel that way everywhere else?
Of Emory University, NYU School of Law, practiced corporate litigation with a focus.
Oh, he's talking to somebody from a college today, so he's wearing his college TA who gets busted for sexually harassing students for grades outfit.
High-profile First Amendment matter.
Just put that booger anywhere.
For over a decade in New York and then in Seattle. Mother of 4, contributor for Inc., the host of iHeartRadio's What's Her Story with Sam and Amy. She's raised $30 million in venture capital to grow the Riveter. She's also been published in the Washington Post, Newsweek, Seattle Times, and she's been all over the world speaking. Fortune's most powerful women. Jeez. Overachieve much, Amy?
No. So that's adorable. Does his wife know? I'm kidding. She's in studio though. That's a switch. Stu must be in traction.
So, Amy, you were on with us. By the way, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
And you're sitting up taking nourishment. That's always good. You came in.
I'm assuming she was sick or something. Is that what that's a reference to?
For the Targets of Tyranny special, and we had been in correspondence for a while.
That's one of his chalkboard specials that he does, by the way. He does these hour-long, they're fucking embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what happened to you and your husband in Seattle with Amazon and the feds. Can you quickly just recap that for anybody who doesn't remember?
Yeah. So my husband worked for Amazon Web Services for nearly 8 years. If you don't know, AWS is a subsidiary of Amazon where the internet lives. Cloud computing lives in these big data warehouses across the world. My husband worked in real estate, helped scouting locations that would be good to build data centers and projects along those lines.
By the way, there's a giant company called Switch that's here in Vegas. And anybody who comes here, you might have seen their buildings look like... They look like space stations. They look like docking ports for spaceships. When Summer and when she first got her house here, there was one of them. Now there's 8. Yeah.
Left Amazon in 2019, and on April 2nd, 2020, the FBI knocked on our door. We learned then that my husband was being accused, at the time we didn't know by who, of a crime called private sector honest services fraud, which is depriving your private employer of your honest services. At the time, the FBI did not ask my husband what happened. It was clearly an accusation. And 2 months later, the government used civil forfeiture to seize all of our family's bank accounts.
Your bank accounts, your husband's, your joint, every.
Okay, so the idea is that while he was scouting these locations for Amazon, his employer, he was consulting for other companies that sniped these companies out from under Amazon and tossed him some cash. That's what that crime is basically, is that you are not doing the work you're supposed to be doing. You're getting paid to do that kind of work, and you are either committing fraud while you do it, which is why fraud is on there, or you're simply like lazy on a scale that they find out you didn't even show up, you weren't even doing anything, to the point of like they paid you a major salary, you can get sued for it or arrested.
Thing.
I mean, to the point, Glenn, the DOJ went into our law firm's client trust account and seized all of the money we had paid our lawyers.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And my husband at that point had never been charged with a crime. In fact, he never was ever charged with a crime.
And, well, okay. And?
Civil forfeiture is something the government can use. It's a tool, and they can seize your money, your home, your safe deposit box.
Squeeze you in every way they possibly can. And many times you don't get the money back.
You really don't. And we're kind of told, like, don't expect to ever get the money back no matter what.
That's craziness.
It is.
But
that's King George, Declaration of Independence style stuff.
Well, and the thing is, it's a tool, right?
Yes.
It's a pressure tool. So my husband had been accused on April 2nd, 2020, and the prosecutors wanted him to plead guilty to a crime. It was all very unspecific. It was unclear. And the crazy thing is that largely what my husband was being accused of, depriving Amazon of his honest services, related to actions my husband took after he didn't work at Amazon.
Which, by the way, again, think of this like somebody in the military or something that or Donald Trump, for example, the idea that he would give Russia what they want while he's there, and his reward for doing so would come after he was no longer president, when there were no more rules about him accepting pay from someone else. That's how it happens.
But anyway, we did fight, and we had 4 little girls. We sold our home, we sold our car, we liquidated our retirement, we borrowed money from family and friends to pay lawyers and to survive.
And didn't they go into your family's accounts too?
Oh my gosh!
Your
so
dad, or
my
something?
father, So my father was critically ill. He almost died. He actually got a life-saving kidney transplant in April of 2020, and 2 weeks later, the FBI emptied out his bank accounts. My husband and I had paid for his medical care. So he would have died if my mother couldn't help him pay his medical bills.
So,
no, he already had. Well, never mind. They're not going to stop giving you your, your rejection drugs.
Many times people see this and go, "Yeah, but there had to be something." You told the story of what that something is, and it revolved around a very expensive.
Also, for the record, this is Amazon's deep government partnerships could ruin your life. No. And it's, one of the reasons why? Not just because I don't work for Amazon and neither do you, except, I guess I'm on Twitch. Does that count? But I think I'm giving a great service, if I may. Okay. But I suppose the other aspect is that the Biden administration and the Democrats just moved to get rid of non-competition clauses, which are, which stifle workers being able to move around. And a lot of Microsoft's early moves in destroying other gaming companies and things like Netscape was by hiring their programmers, making them sign a non-competition clause, putting them to work for a month, and then firing them and not having them on anymore sometimes for cause, sometimes, obviously not, so that they couldn't go back to work for who they were working for. Basically just gut the company of its best programmers.
Lawsuit from Amazon.
So to preface this, we had no idea what was going on. And the day the FBI showed up at our house, my husband hired criminal defense attorneys and said, please call Amazon and tell them I will come in and talk to them. I don't understand what's going on, but I have nothing to hide. And Amazon's lawyer said, we will only speak to him if he is pleading guilty to a felony. And at the time, we were like, what is going on? I mean, Amazon's lawyers squarely put the DOJ between the company and my husband. Very few companies have that kind of access to DOJ. And for an institution that's meant to be apolitical, that's wrong. It's just wrong. But what we learned over the course of years and spending a lot of lawyer money is that in February 2020, Amazon broke a contract with a real estate developer. And by the explicit terms of that contract, unless they could prove the developer committed a felony crime, they were going to owe him over $100 million in damages. The next day, after they broke the contract, they had their first meeting with the Department of Justice. They met with the Department of Justice over 100 times, trying to lobby.
Because it was a contract your husband helped set up, and it turned out to be a lie or not as valuable or useless to their, like, that's what it sounds like. They didn't just, he picked sites for them to build cloud service places. So we're supposed to just think that the real estate deal, he had no part in that. They just needed a scapegoat from somebody. And so they picked somebody who used to work for the company.
For criminal charges. The government spent countless FBI hours and prosecutors' hours, like essentially doing Amazon's bidding. And what we do know is despite all of the things that Amazon told the government, they never told the government that they had broken a contract and needed a felony, or they would be liable for $100 million in damages.
So you decided to fight.
Yes.
I mean, you know, you guys are fighters. You decided to fight. It has cost you a great deal. Your husband, nor you or anybody else, has ever been charged. You thought this was kind of wrapping up, and then you came on the special. And I think I may have said, are you sure you want to come on? And I know I said, I hope nothing happens because of this. The day after, coincidence?
I don't really believe in coincidences anymore,
Okay.
but the day after, the Department of Justice subpoenaed Amazon for all of the documents that Amazon had that had been produced in this civil litigation. Because after Amazon failed to get criminal charges, they sued my husband. And I'll note something about that I think, you know, Amazon didn't anticipate. But usually when you're accused of a crime, you never get to see the communications between your accuser and the Department of Justice. And in this civil case, because Amazon sued my husband was able to see all those communications. And they're very shocking. And I mean, to me as a lawyer, I was floored by the things that have been made public that I've been able to see.
Why? What was seen?
Amazon hired a former federal prosecutor from the Eastern District of Virginia. They paid him millions of dollars to lobby his former colleagues for criminal charges. The current prosecutors in Virginia
Also,
immediately...
For the record, again, none of us are shocked by, I think, giant corporation does sketchy, dickish stuff. Or employees for giant, sketchy company at times gets in giant financial fight with big, sketchy company, and both of them are pointing fingers at each other and the like. And the idea that a company that employs that many people would have the ear of regulators over a local mom and pop, for example, is not shocking either. What I fail to understand is this shit. Amazon's deep government partnerships could ruin your life. Did he write this to her?
in Amazon for a meeting. They set up a meeting with the prosecutor's press office because clearly this was going to be such a sexy and scandalous case. They never checked anything Amazon said. They never asked to see my husband's terms of employment or his non-compete. Like, they just didn't ask to see it. Amazon said they had paid this real estate developer $16 million. Amazon had paid the real estate developer $0. So nobody ever checked anything. They just went for it.
Because it was really literally an old boys network. I know you, you know me. Just this is a problem.
I mean, we have an email that's now in the public docket in Virginia where Patrick Stokes, Amazon's lawyer, asked his former colleague, Jessica Aber, who's now the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, who just sued Amazon's main rival, Google. And Pat Stokes said to Jess Aber, we want to talk to you about civil assets.
Oh, dear. Now Glenn has to defend Google.
forfeiture. Prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia have not used civil asset forfeiture outside of a drug case in 13 years that I can find.
So this is now being looked at again for the second time?
You know, I really think that Amazon keeps pushing DOJ to try to do something, and DOJ isn't doing anything except kind of, just the investigation just kind of hangs out there because it's a threat, right? And unless Amazon can get a felony conviction of this real estate developer, they are going to be liable for damages.
By the way, it's like the most profitable company in the world. And I'm sure part of that is by not parting with millions of dollars if they don't have to. But this seems like a lot more trouble than just taking the real estate developer to court and finding some way out of it. Does that seem, think about all the times Trump has fucking wiggled out of his obligations on a real estate deal. I honestly, I not knowing enough about this and knowing the problem I have is, she seems lovely, but the fact that she's going to Glenn Beck with this story and Glenn is carrying it is the primary thing that makes me dubious that I'm being had. That this is, a manipulation scheme and he's a part of it. I'm just...
All right. So the reason we talked about this, you mentioned this, but I have been seeing more and more stories about people from the DOJ going to work right directly to the Pentagon and people from the intelligence agencies. This is terrifying.
Going straight to the Pentagon? Or you mean working for Amazon? Did he mean to say Amazon?
Because there is a public-private partnership that...
There's no public-private partnership between the DOJ and the Pentagon. That would be a public-public partnership.
You should be very aware of. Our DOJ, our national security agencies, all of them are using Amazon as their cloud bank. When you have that, you have control of the...
Hang on. How many of you want to bet...
Government or the...
Hold on. The Blaze's servers are through AWS.
Government has control of you. At best, if one doesn't have something over the head of the other, they're partners in everything.
All right, again, this is where it gets into the, he's involved in these kind of choices for the company. The company takes either his advice or counsel to make one of these choices. They find out the choice is terrible. They want to get out of it, and they think he was getting his back rubbed by this asshole who they end up making the deal with afterwards, and they go after them because he's the one that got them into this $100 million mess and then skated off, and he might have some money in his bank account from that guy to squeeze this deal through. And this lady isn't showing up on CNN or one of those other sites to go, hey, what the hell, like any of us would do. She's on Glenn Beck's fucking show. And it's not like she wouldn't have access. It's weird. Like, this is very much a story I can imagine somebody, and then the public backlash, if she was on any of these regular networks, or even the fucking local news in Seattle or wherever they live now. Oy, anyways. But, yeah, I gotta say, I just feel like there's details being left out on purpose. Yeah, the story is her husband, not her. Why is he not talking about it? Is he telling her everything? Like, there's so much. It's just all, it's hinky as fuck. And then the fact that he uses it to try to and you need to be afraid because you might wake up one day engaged in double dealing with real estate firms that you don't tell your family about because you've got another family stashed away in Romania that you haven't told them about, and those are expensive bills, so you're having to create another revenue stream so you can just buy health insurance and toothpaste for the kid she doesn't know about, and and she's going to go out and defend you until basically you roll up the ladder and fuck off out of town. So, anyways, by the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. That's like, again, as softball conspiracies go, that one's pretty impressive.